In 1994, this man was disappeared, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with what he was working on. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of Jacobo Grinberg, his insanely groundbreaking findings, and the mystery that surrounds his disappearance. So, at the age of 12, Jacobo decided he wanted to study the human mind because he recently lost his mother to a brain tumor. He studied psychology and neuroscience and got a PhD from NYU. And that PhD focused on the relationship between the mind and the body. But here's the thing about Jacobo. He did what many scientists are afraid to do. He wanted to see if there was a link between science and shamanism, mysticism, these supernatural or spiritual topics. And being from Mexico, he focused primarily on Mexican shamanism. By combining his scientific background with his shamanic and mystical background, he was able to learn things that would challenge conventional science. Now, if you're not new to my content, you know I've been talking about this podcast, the telepathy tapes that every single person needs to listen to. It looks into and documents the telepathic and psychic abilities within nonverbal autistic individuals. Now, the coolest thing about this podcast is just because these people have these abilities does not mean they're the only ones with it. And often they say everybody has this, they've just forgotten. You want to know what Jacobo Grinberg found out? Yeah, I think you already know what I'm going to say. I'm going to be doing a much larger deep dive eventually about him, but let's just talk about some of the things that he found. One, he worked really closely with a Mexican shaman named Pachita. He would witness and document her psychic surgeries that she would perform on people. He would describe her ability to literally manifest organs for people. She was able to perform these impossible surgeries. How? Well, Jacobo says she was able to access higher forms of reality, tap into higher energy fields, if you will, and use them to change this reality. Why? Because we're living in the Matrix. We're living in a holographic reality where we project reality. The individuals on the telepathy tapes talk about this. Jacobo talks about this. She is literally a computer programmer that was able to change the program. That change manifests a new reality. Jacobo proposed what he calls the synergy theory. The idea is simply that we live in a holographic informational matrix that is shaped by our conscious projections. And he suggests that people with high neuronal energy fields can manipulate this matrix. They're just advanced coders within the system. And when I say coder, please do not take this as we're living in a computer simulation. Simulation does not always mean a computer simulation, okay? Just using it as an analogy. Jacobo also performed many experiments regarding telepathy and other psychic abilities. He would look at things through meditation, look at two brains, and what they found is there was a synchronization that would happen where the sharing of information could happen. Through his experiments, he suggests that there's an interconnectedness of consciousness at all levels. He was working on some pretty amazing things, and in December 1994, just before his 48th birthday, he disappeared. There are so many conspiracies around why and how he disappeared. His wife claimed that he was traveling, but there's no flight records or any sightings whatsoever. Some people think he was silent. Some people think he was taken by the CIA. Some people think that he just pieced out on this reality and went to higher planes of consciousness. Like I said, we're going to dive so deep into his story and his findings, but it is really fascinating when you take a man of science who is a genius that applies that to look for the connections between spirituality, mysticism, shamanism, whatever you want to call it, and he explores the different levels of consciousness. Instead of just ignoring the things that we can't explain or calling it woo-woo or crazy, he pragmatically looked it in the face, trying to understand it. And unfortunately for us, he disappeared. But if you want a really interesting podcast, it's 10 episodes long, and it goes through these abilities, testing individuals who have these abilities. It is so fascinating. It is so fascinating. You need to go listen to it right now, the telepathy tapes. Love you guys.